Whenever a new video game console gets released, a slew of brand new exclusive games come out. You know, games that can't run on the previous generation's hardware, so they need to be a next-gen game. But in reality, they definitely could have run on the previous generation. For example, games like Knack and Killzone Shadowfall were PS4 exclusive launch titles, but I think they definitely could have been made for the PS3 if push came to shove. This is because what was next-gen about them were the graphics. And that's cool and all, you know, good graphics are always a plus, but I think gameplay should always be the focus. And these next-gen games' gameplay would still be the same on the previous console generation. So when the PS5 was released with all the new exclusive PS5 games, I thought they would be exactly the same as previous launch titles. I mean, the PS4 is a pretty powerful console as is. My base PS4 has ran games like The Last of Us Part 2 and Red Dead 2 perfectly. It does sound like a jet engine is about to take off, but still, it runs. And this is further reinforced by the fact that next-gen games such as God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West released with a PS4 version of the game as well as a PS5 version. So when I heard that the new Ratchet Clank game was a PS5 exclusive, I was like, yeah, okay buddy, sure it is.
You sure about that?
And I'm as fast as Usain Bolt.
Stop the cap.
I had this belief that Rift Apart could easily have been made on the PS4. Again, my base PS4 can run Red Dead 2 for God's sake. So when I saw Rift Apart for sale for like half price, on a whim I decided to buy it in order to test my thesis. And after finally beating it, I can definitively say that Rift Apart could not have been released on the PS4. I know, I'm as shocked as you are right now. I was honestly expecting I would play the game and have my opinion be validated. I mean, as it should, I'm always right. But instead, I'm now forced to reconcile with the fact that Rift Apart could only be possible on the PS5. Now this isn't because of the insane quality of graphics or particle effects or anything like that. I think the PS4 could easily handle that aspect of Rift Apart. What the PS4 couldn't handle is the gameplay aspect of Rift Apart. The premise of the game is multiple dimensions being pulled into one another, creating chaos and havoc for our protagonists. Now throughout the game, you're constantly traveling into and through those different dimensions instantaneously. The key word in that sentence is instantaneously. There is no loading screens or fake loading screens like a small hallway you have to squeeze through while the next areas load in the background. It is an instant change of locations and game assets. This is possible through the use of the PS5's SSD, a complicated thing that basically means games can load faster and run smoother. The PS4 doesn't have anything like that in its hardware.
I can't fucking compete! I just can't fucking compete!
I mean, even though it does run Red Dead 2, it does take ages for the game to load initially. So because the instantaneous dimension switches are so deeply ingrained into Rift Apart's gameplay, there is no way in hell that it could run on a PS4. Unlike games such as Knack, where the gameplay aspect of it could have easily run on the previous generation, I see no reality where Rift Apart could work on the PS4 unless the developers made severe gameplay sacrifices. And at that point, it isn't even the same game anymore. It truly feels like a next-gen game, not because of how pretty the game is, and it is pretty, but because of how the game plays. The constant and instantaneous dimension swapping coupled with the smooth as a baby's bottom combat and gameplay add up to an experience that could have only been possible on the PS5. I hope more developers take the path of Rift Apart and utilize the next generation's hardware for gameplay purposes, not just for better graphics. Like for example another game about swapping dimensions, or a puzzle game involving two people on different planets or different time periods, where you have to constantly be swapping between characters in order to solve the puzzles. Or how about a racing game or a shooter that is constantly changing locations, making every race or match unique to play. Those games sound pretty fun if I do say so myself, so if you're a game dev who just happens to be watching this video, just give me a call and hire me to give you ideas for your next gen games. Even the big AAA games that won't feature as an extreme example such as swapping dimensions will make use of the PS5's SSD. GTA 6 probably won't look that much better than Red Dead 2 graphics wise, but Rockstar will probably use the power of the SSD to be able to load and unload more assets quickly, leading to an extremely immersive experience that just wouldn't be possible on the PS4. The PS5's SSD and the instant load times that it creates is what will be utilized by developers in order to create a truly next-gen experience. Whether that be the extreme example of swapping dimensions instantaneously, or a much tamer example such as the ability to load and unload game assets extremely quickly and efficiently, the next giant leap for next-gen gaming will be by creating an immersive experience with no loading screens. And it will all be thanks to the PS5's SSD. It's solid snake dick.